There's a blacksmith and he's gone down to the forge. He lived across the road on the other side and he come running in. And he pulled open the doors and pulled the exhaust. There was no water in the boiler.
The damper, oh boys.
Pulled the damper.
And they said
Aye.
I think that old blacksmith is still in Draperstown.
No, well, no, he's dead.
Oh, is he there?
Aye.
Well, there's a blacksmith used to be down nearly opposite the hall. You know, the National Hall or whatever.
Aye. Well, that was.
What is it?
Oh no, that was a boy.
I think it was
Oh,
there.
that's Johnny Donnelly. That's Johnny Donnelly. That's the whole. There's a look.
You
There's
can
a.
change it to square around that plug, you know.
There's a.
Little arm. No, you can read it, you see that, you know, look, you know, a square or round.
Yeah.
Some houses are right, they're square, you see.
And they have one that usually two are in it, and they have this one that moves.
I know.
Like the motor.
But something blew on me there.
Shoes.
I'm sure I've blown a few somewhere.
Broken wire.
I'm soon finding it.
You have a broken wire there.
Oh, that's one of the earth.
Hmm?
That's the earth. Oh, I'll soon make the necessary inspections.
It's not a fuse because the light is on.
No, it's this here, it's all right. From East Street there. It's just at this end. Well, was it Father Richard Welsh was the priest when you were there?
Yeah.
I suppose that's why you couldn't attack, no, it's this end here, why you couldn't attack Draperstown Barry. You didn't want to discommode him. You remember? The natives are going to do Draperstown Barry.
Actually, Draperstown Barry was sold again. I think you only got that.
Sold.
Aye.
But what I mean is they couldn't take it by force anyway. Because, I'm sure his house was beside it. You know.
Oh, no.
Did Father Richard Welsh not live beside the old barn?
That was, the old barrack, the barrack had moved over. The barrack had moved over to
The corner?
McGeoch, there above where the post office is.
That was down on the turn a little bit.
Eh?
Was a square or a diamond or something?
No, the barrack was over.
that.
You know where Dr. Donnelly lived?
Yes.
Well, the barrack was the next house to Dr. Donnelly.
Up the Marafelt steep there.
And as you get to Marafanta Road.
Yes.
At that time, and then it changed across to the other side of the road where it is now.
Oh, I know. But there was now a new barrack again.
New barracks is up.
There is, surely.
Oh, I am.
Well, Lily, she knew Draperstown nearly as well
I
as...
know better than him, I think, at the moment.
Well, do you know better than me, thief?
No, I don't think so. I was up there last week,
Where you?
all week.
Do you like up
I
there?
do. I prefer it down here, flat round here.
Oh, it's not flat up round Bancran and places, sure it's not.
Well,
No, that's not that's only where there was an earth, do you know? And I'm not using the earth.
Flanagan was now at one night and I was fiddling with it. Now laid and it was broken somewhere in the middle. Do you know?
the time the horse kicked him and he could do nothing for it.
And I was
So,
fiddling at the lead seat and to find out which of the wires was broken, I stuck in the plug.
Surely.
Do you know?
Yeah. Nearly got left.
I find which of them were no life in it.
Yeah.
And Matt, come up, give me that, he says, and I fixed it. And he pulled it out of my hand, see. And he didn't know I had the plug in it.
Sure, no.
And I didn't, and the side of one of the wires dead, I don't know what it says, and Matt put the screwdriver on. And the pipe had the pipe right. The pipe had the feeling you don't know about that. Authorities, what brought you here, do you know?
Oh, it's serious. Thank God it didn't materialise then.
No.
Hope I haven't fused whenever I did that, you know.
Oh, the fuse is right.
The fuse box is
And even now the fuse won't belong yet in a fuse.
Oh, I dare say not.
No. long
see.
getting
And they're doing odd jobs
Alright, alright.
and so on. So he was telling me, get me one of them, and bring it in with you tomorrow, and Rick says, well, I said, I don't want. He told me, he said, well, sure, run the next day, and take one and put this one on. No, you said, well, he said, it wouldn't fit. But it's not good. I know you could go there and need a job at you.
We'll be here a couple of hours anyway. That's all right, be back then with the tea.
Oh, you didn't worry about the teddy.
Why, I have to have
It
everything.
might be over to you.
What?
It might be over to you.
Aye.
There was some fella looking for Ann there, and I had to wait for him, he says, let's go right here. Because he has Ann in.
We met your brother on the road,
Went you up the road.
Yeah.
and a little car.
We stopped, so it's not him because he's driving.
Ryan over to the, he says
Rain on the
you're not talking to the right man. To the right man, we'll try and get this thing right. We'll be on there. We're on there. Where were you born? Tona, Straw,
So,
behind where the chapel.
that's a something.
I'm not going to ask his age, it'll come eventually. Who were your parents?
My mother was O'Hagan,
Yes.
and of course my father was Tom.
Oh, did I? Well, well then, you went to Bancroft School, did you?
No, it's Straw School.
So who taught then?
Master Lagan, and then he was succeeded by Master Kelly.
I know. Well, I was asked John here, was there any tradition of ARB in the neighbourhood?
There was a few old Fenians, but there was no ARB that I knew of.
No, but was there any tradition of hearing old men talking about the older?
Well, we're always talking about the old Fenians and that, you know,
Yes.
and everything like that.
Well, that was, but there wasn't any centres that
No,
you, that,
no centres.
like whenever you would come into that sort of thing of knowledge, it would be by 1918 before you would have heard of anything like that.
Yeah, well, yeah, around from 1916 on.
I know.
Of course, I was only, in 1916, I was 14 years of age.
I see. Well, then that
That's
fixes
pretty
it.
good.
That.
Yeah.
Well, then, who organised the beginnings of the new ARB? Was there any?
Of the new ARA.
Oh no, ARB first. Were you members of there before you were members of ARA?
No, members of the ARA first.
Well, do you remember Sean McDermott speaking at Nina Chapel? Or any of those men, pre-1916?
No, I don't, I wouldn't be,
You were too young.
I wasn't out,
True. Aye.
you know.
Well, they
A
were.
lad at that time, a lad of 14 years of age was still a child.
Oh, they were. Surely you wouldn't be at these. Besides, you wouldn't make money in Nina
No.
Chapel. That'd be 6 times you'd be at.
No, straw town.
Straw, of course. Well, then, whenever you did join the ARA, what year would that have been?
Well, we formed a company of the ARA in our district through a cousin of mine that was in the States. He was on to organise it, and he was home on holidays that year.
Yeah.
And he was on to organise it, and we formed the company in 1919,
1980. What is the name of your cousin?
Frank O'Hagan.
I see. So 1919 it was, aye.
Yeah, well, that is a bit of a story too.
Right.
We formed the company, and Joe Donnelly was the captain,
Yes.
and I was second lieutenant.
Yes.
And the man that was connecting us with headquarters was Frank Strong. At that time, there was an affiliation fee paid by each company to headquarters.
Yeah.
Now, I can't remember the exact amount per man, what it was, there wasn't much in here. And we left this matter all
Uh-huh.
to Frank Strong.
Yes.
He was
A clerk.
He was a clerk for Louis J. Welsh.
That's right, yes.
And we left it all to him, and occasionally he would come to us and he'd have a typewritten letter with him
Uh-huh.
and show us things that he got from Dublin and, you know, from
I know,
Ireland and all. In 1920,
Mm-hmm.
Tessie McDevitt
Yes,
of Belfast.
yes. Was she a daughter of Danny McDavid, was she?
Now, I don't know what her
Well-
real father was, I don't know whether she was Joe McKelvey's girl that carried the arms for McKelvey when anything was being done in Belfast.
I say,
You
yes.
know what I mean?
I know that.
She would go there and
I know, right. Yes, I know.
leave things clear.
I know.
Well, Tessie was up on holidays
Mm-hmm.
in Donnelly's in 1920.
Yes.
And she told us that according to Joe McKelvey,
Uh-huh.
there was no affiliated company in our district,
I say, yes.
was headquarters.
I know, yes.
And we arranged through her
Uh-huh.
for Joe McKelvey to come up
Aye, from Belfast.
from Belfast and swear us in.
Uh-huh.
And he came, now that was in 1920,
I say, yes.
and he came, as far as I remember, it was Halloween night.
Aye.
And,
Uh-huh.
and he came up and he swore us in. Eight.
Yes,
And he swore in Mahara Company.
yes.
And that was the first official. And because Frank Strong was there at the meeting,
Yeah.
we kept it secret from him.
Uh-huh.
He was there at the meeting when Joe McKelvey came in,
Well,
so he got a good drop.
and he hadn't affiliated.
He hadn't affiliated us at all, and all that he was doing, see, was using his own typewriter to write these letters.
Where was he a native of himself?
He was a native of Donegal.
I see. Well, now, then you were really officially then a company.
Officially from that.
19 and 20.
Yeah, that was November.
What month? November, yes.
Yeah.
And there's Joe
The first
McKelvey.
day in November, Joe McKelvey.
Well, then, you would still be very young. You're only about 18 years of age.
18.
That's right.
I wasn't, I was 18 and...
Yeah, you were born 18 too.
Aye, 18 years old.
Aye. Well, now, how many were in that company, the first company?
Well, at that time, we had only,
Joe Donnelly.
there was more.
Mm-hmm.
There was a fellow there, his death was in the paper there in New York last week. There were two Joe Bradleys
Yes.
and Joe Donnelly and Joe, brother, and myself,
Yes.
Mick O'Neill,
Yes.
Eddie O'Neill. Johnny Kelly, Mick Donnelly. There'd be about 12 or 15.
Very good. Well then, just like the rest of all the other companies in pre-truce times, your arms were very small in number.
Hardly any.
Well, was there any of the, for example, see, before the split in the volunteers when you were a young boy, there were some rifles given to the Hibernian volunteers.
Mm.
They weren't very good type, perhaps. They were Italian or Morsers or something, but some of them weren't so good. Had you any rifles at all in your
Oh yeah, with a lot of old, I mean, there was, it's a mountainy district around there, see, and a lot of them men around the mountains had old rifles about, some of them did it the way back.
The Queen Anne's time?
Well, did it back a long time, and we gathered all them up all over the parish, anywhere there was one, and
Aye,
two
well,
revolvers.
I
And
know. Well, whenever you would be gathering them up, did you meet opposition in any place?
Well, nobody knew.
No.
No.
Did you read for arms? There was
We
10
lived in
and
any
raid,
house where there was arms.
and they give them to you. Well,
Well,
then, 19 and 20, nothing happened, presumably. You were just starting.
in 19 and 20, then we were in touch with headquarters from that on. I think it was the Tyrone Brigade, it was called. at that
Yes,
time.
that's right.
And then, I think it was in May, either April or May of 21, that Duffy came.
As an organizer, it would have been. Well, where was he up in Tullybrick? No, where was he?
He was in our parish.
Ah,
Our parish then became the headquarters of the
of that brigade.
second
Second
Northern Division.
Ah, well, it
Once
wasn't
the
called-
division wasn't formed until near around the truce time.
That's true, yes, that's right.
In fact, I think that it was at a meeting in Kelly's. I think it was the day before the truce that everybody got their ranking.
I say it was just about the,
It was,
about the
I
10th
think-
of July.
I think it was the day before the truce. Well,
Yes.
maybe 2 days before.
I know. Well, then what ranks were given out and who got them?
Well, the man, we belonged to the 3rd Brigade,
Yes.
and the man was OC of the 3rd Brigade at that time was Paddy Damon.
I say, yes, he was. Ah.
And I think Dan McKenna then was next to him,
Yes.
as far as I remember now.
Well, now,
Oh no, Dan was OC of the 2nd Battalion.
mhm,
We were the 2nd Battalion.
yes.
We lived in Mahara and way around Big Glen Cullen and around that area.
Well, you were only still very young. Do you remember anything about the 19 and 18 election?
I remember Darrell Figgis speaking at Stroud Chapel,
Yes.
and I think that it was in connection with the 1918 election.
Could have been, huh?
Well, I remember the 1918 election because, see, in the 1918 elections, there were bonfires in the parish at that time.
Well, they hadn't much to bonfire about it.
No, but I mean, I think it was a Clare election, or?
Well, the Clare election was 1917.
Well, it wouldn't be that early. It's be later, it'd be around the 1918 or 19s.
Calvin,
Eh?
Calvin or Roscoe.
Roscommon was the first contest at Count Plunkett, do you remember, and Joe McGuinness was elected.
And many of them elections, we always supported them.
Supported Sinn
You know.
Féin, I know. Well, then, there was very little activity in 1920.
Hardly any. The only thing that we did in 19 and 20, now, in our parish, on the nights of Keelys
Yes.
and dances
Aye.
and things like that,
Aye.
we closed all the pubs.
Yes. That was standard practice that time. Yes.
We closed all the pubs and we saw that there was no poaching or that in the district. You know.
Did you ever destroy Poteen stills?
Well, there was poaching still to destroy, but I wouldn't like to be associated with them. Case the owner got to know about it.
Oh, I know. Well, they were ordered to do it, indeed.
Yeah, well, that type of duties, we carried them out.
I know.
Penland.
Eh?
Penland.
Plain lands. Aye.
Well, the company,
By the way,
company
Oh, I
areas,
know.
company areas.
Did you ever hold up meals at that place?
No, there were no meals ever held up in our
No.
parish.
Did you ever attempt to disarm policemen?
No,
In no time,
No.
preachers.
no.
And I thought,
Not that. Once Duffy formed the 2nd Northern Division. Its headquarters of the whole 2nd Northern was our company area.
Yes, I know. You were guarding people there.
And the instructions was to keep everything as quiet as possible.
See,
That was the centre where everybody came to.
I know.
You know.
And to divert, keep attention away from it.
Keep attention away from it. We were good boys.
Yes, and the whole area was good.
The whole area was good.
And it was really, well, it was the right procedure, that, actually.
Aye. And that was it was like a safe area for the only, the morning of the truce, the intelligence officer, we were waiting at the crossroads to go to, that was the morning that the barracks was done, what they call them? Up on the borders are own.
Greencastle, no.
Oh, up at beside Dunamore,
The burning of Dune's Creamery.
Dunes Creamery.
Yes, that was done on the very morning of the truce.
So,
Tell me about that episode.
well, on that morning at 3 o'clock,
Yes.
we were waiting. There were a few men picked from each
I know.
area,
Uh-huh.
and we were waiting at the crossroads on conveyance.
Yes.
And up the road comes, what was very rare at that occasion, a motorbike
Yes.
at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
And I held up the motorbike,
Yes.
and there was an intelligence officer out at Ripperstown.
Roger McNichol, no?
No. And see, you're going far to get him. The police intelligence officer,
Doyle.
Doyle.
Uh,
So Doyle's bike was taken and Doyle was taken with us to Dunes Creamery.
taken the whole way, was it?
Taken the whole way and kept after 12 o'clock,
Noon.
noon.
And he
After
took his
truce.
motorbike then.
Well, that story goes, well, go on down here. I came home from Dunes Creamery.
Well, tell me about the burning of Dune's Creamery first. Just went on to that. How did you get down to Dunes from Stroh?
Oh, we had a car.
Uh-huh.
We had a car of our own at that time.
Who was driving it?
I was Joe Donnelly to the driver.
Well,
But I don't remember him anyways, and one of our men rode on Doyle's bike.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And Doyle was taken on the car.
ah,
Because when I came home from Dunes Creamery that evening,
yes,
I always made my business to have some errand to the town.
I know.
Do you get what I mean?
Yes,
And I went to the town
uh-huh.
just to be seen in the town.
I know.
You know.
Ah,
Well, he couldn't be there, he's here, you
I
know.
know.
And when I was coming out of the town,
Uh-huh.
at the end of the town, I met Doyle coming in and walking to the town.
Oh, I see, yes.
And he says, "How are you, Tommy?" Now, Doyle got a lift with Joe Henry. He was a fireman that would go around that area of Greencastle on that day.
I know,
And when they let Doyle free, like he was treated all right.
I know,
And I thought it pretty decent of him.
yes.
Oh, Doyle.
To bid you time of day.
Well, it's a bit of my time of day, and he never said who took him or who
No, I
didn't.
know.
You get what I mean?
I know.
He never squealed
No, I know.
or said who took him. Well, that bike then was around the locality.
Yes, it would be.
And then Liam Lynch come around that locality at one time.
Liam Lynch, that was later shot down in
Aye.
Tipperary.
Aye.
That right?
Aye. He was around that on a motorbike at one time, and I think they switched motorbikes.
I see, yes.
because it was Lynch's bike was around after,
Yeah.
not
Not Doyle's,
Doyle's.
I see. Well, had you any more, you got a motorbike on Dunes though?
Well, we didn't, Tyrone.
Somebody did.
Tyrone would, yeah.
Aye. Well, you no borrow at the burning of Dunes?
No, there was a very funny thing happened at the burning of Dunes.
Don't make noise with that, please, Tom.
No.
Well,
But a very funny thing happened at the burning of Dunes. There was a lorry load of men came down the road. They galloped up at McCracken's pub.
yes, Dunamore.
Dunamore. McCracken's father had been
Been shot the year before.
the year before. And was there they galloped up and in the lorry, and I was in the lorry. So we about 15, from 12 to 18 in it.
Who owned the lorry?
Well, the lorry was there for the purpose. It belonged to Tyrone
I
Crown.
know, aye.
And just as we swung into the yard
Of
of Boone's Creamery,
Of Green's, aye.
a policeman
Aye.
stepped out of the door of his office.
Yes.
And everybody in the lorry, the sort of course that were into it, that walked into the traffic,
Aye.
everybody in the lorry. I might break your record.
Do not, go on ahead. I'll tell you.
Everybody in the lorry fired at the policeman,
Good Lord.
and he threw himself on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And there were at least 4 bullets went through the arms of his coat, and 3 or 4 through the legs of his pants.
He must have had a very loose fitting uniform.
And he wasn't scratched, well, a little gun bullet. And he claimed that him lying there on the ground, that was God saved him. He had joined the Catholic Church the week before.
No.
But
Well,
I don't remember the man's name, or like it, at that time, but
Well.
that. And he was alive. Now, imagine 18 or 20 or maybe 40
at a short range,
at a short range.
firing at that.
Of course, the lorry was travelling,
I know,
you know, and he threw himself on the ground. But there were that many, there were 4 to 6, now I don't know who he was. I mean, we
we don't know what you do.
went on with our business, what we were doing.
Well, now, he wasn't wounded. Why did someone not go in then and hold him?
Well, he was held until truce time also.
I know.
And it only happened that he was there on a message, but it just, as a coincidence, that he was walking out of the door of the place. There was no,
Was that out of Dunes Creamery or
Out of
Dunes
Dunes.
Post Office?
out of the post office.
Yes.
Right.
Well, now, they didn't, he was kept, he guarded there
He
till the
was
job
kept-
was done.
Aye, the job.
Well, then when you were going up back after doing the job, where was he?
I don't remember
You see.
where he was.
Well, at any rate, he was.
Or I don't, like, we weren't, it was the locals took care of all that.
I know. Well, he'd be kept there till the truce anyway.
Well, the truce,
Came into being at 11.
the truce came into being, the truce was on, I think, before we were away from Tunis.
It would, of course.
Hmm.
Well, now that was very significant that he, see, Paddy Diamond maintains that he wasn't yet a Catholic, that policeman, but that he was going with the Catholic girl.
Well, he claimed that he was, he may not, now I can't just be certain,
No, I know.
do you get what I mean,
I
at
know.
this stage.
I know, but there's a general consensus that the general facts are much the same.
Yeah.
That he attributed his safety, no doubt he did.
Aye.
Paddy Diamond corroborated that.
Aye.
But the thing is that he wasn't, according to Paddy, he wasn't yet a Catholic, but was thinking of becoming.
Aye, he was becoming a
And
Catholic.
who told you that he attributed his safety to be?
Well, it was there, that general consensus, you know what I mean?
I know. Well, then that.
I mean, I couldn't give anybody's name because,
No, I know.
in fact, I didn't know the name of the Tyrone men that were there. I only knew my own.
Well, were you in the lorry that fired at the police?
I was.
And none of you hit him. I feel like
He
you
was-
were a bad shot.
He was, well now, there was at least, did Paddy tell you that?
No, Paddy didn't say that there were so many on that all fired. He said that some fired.
Well, there was one.
Well, I think if
there
one
was
fired, all
one-
fire.
There was one lighthead on it, a Tyrone fella, I don't know who it, and I'll bet he emptied his magazine. The maddest man that ever saw. You know the henfish, he was nearly like Patsy. You know that. He fired away at him.
Well, it wasn't Patsy, but a fella of the type of Patsy.
A fella of that type, a red-faced fella, I never saw that
I could
before.
believe actually
Or
John that they probably emptied everything.
Gallagher.
Was his name Gallagher?
Frank Gallagher.
Frank Gallagher, he thinks he was.
For the big red face.
Very red. Oh no, that was Frank Gallagher was OC of
Yeah, the first.
Italian. No, that wasn't Gallagher. It wasn't, it was another fella. Because I met Gallagher.
He had a medal wearing a medal that
The policeman was wearing a medal.
he was.
Uh-huh.
Religious medal.
Aye.
And he showed that to me. And as here's it for me now, but
I hear say yes.
Frank Curran says, we won't miss you this time. You see when you were quick and stuff. And Damon put Curran away. So luckily he says, I'll continue.
Oh, well, that wouldn't have been on the time they were travelling in a lorry
And they think,
and they returned back.
But no.
no, when we got off the lorry. See, my job that on that was two other fellas, was to hold the road that came up. Now I didn't know the locality, but the road that came up from
Cookstown.
the Cookstown direction.
Yes.
There were 3 years from that.
Uh-huh.
And of course nothing come up until the whole thing was over. And it was a lucky job because I'm due to the bias.
So as John says, lately on the way back, the policeman was still there, shaking badly, I'm sure.
On his knees.
And it was then probably that the Gallagher probably wanted to go along and finish the
It
job.
was Curran.
Corn.
He was in the second.
You think it was Frank Curran?
The big black truck.
Aye, he lost, his place was burdened later.
Yeah.
Well, at any rate, they didn't kill the man.
No.
You see, it was post-truce.
Took him prisoner.
Took him prisoner. Did they take him anywhere I wanted? You don't know.
No, and just until once at the truce,
Oh, I
I
see.
had him over once.
once that he was let go.
Damon said these late family.
Paddy maintains that he did, you see.
Well, Paddy would know one. Paddy would.
Well, I got that from one of my own fellas that were at that job.
Oh, there were some of the Newbridge one, or your men as well as Paddy on
There
there.
was critters from all around every 40 years.
Every battalion area had. I think it was 7 men. Either 6 or 7 was from our district.
Yes.
And that was not from our company area.
Oh, I know.
That was the whole battalion,
Yes.
you know.
I know.
One or so from each company.
Yes.
Johnny Hackey was on Dan McKinnon.
Yeah, you could classify them as the active service unit
Of that area.
of that time.
Whole
One
area.
from one area, another from another.
Oh, I know.
All the madmen.
There was only 3 or 4 really active men
In each area.
in each area. The rest were stand-ins for, you know,
I know.
Guards.
Aye.
for everything.
Well, then that was just exactly on the truce. There hadn't been much before that.
No.
There couldn't have been actually, as truthfully. But that's interesting to hear that Liam Lynch may have been in that area about that time. But that would be post-truce he came, I should think, if they switched motorbikes. Because you didn't.
Well, it might be, it could be, it might have been a few days after the truce of the motorbikes.
You see, there wouldn't have been, couldn't have been a switch of a motorbike unless you had dials to switch.
Aye, and then it must be after the truce.
Yes.
Because there was a fella from Leitrim. I don't know whether it's safe to mention his name or
Can't
not.
you know, yeah, I'll never be told.
There was a fella from Leitrim
Yeah.
and the barracks in Ripperstown.
Yes.
He was
Friendly.
a Gaelic footballer,
Yes.
and he was friendly.
Mm-hmm. What was his name?
I cannot just think of his name now. I don't remember the
Well,
friend. And he sent word
Yes,
to me
yes,
for to not be raiding Doyle's motorbike around the parish.
well, were you raiding it?
No, I wasn't raiding.
No.
But I mean, it wasn't
Not to
that
be
was
used.
not to be used around the parish. And at that time, it wasn't Doyle's motorbike.
Oh, I see.
It was Lynch's
Oh, I see, yes, Tom.
You get what I mean?
I know, yes.
that was being used.
Uh-huh.
We had a car now, and I don't remember what time. What time was that collection or that put on the
A levy,
levy
for what? For arms?
for the
For the law?
IRA?
A levy for arms. That was 1920,
Aye,
as early as 20.
aye. Well, there was a man in Tyrone refused to pay the levy,
Yes.
and his motor car was taken.
Oh, in lieu of it, aye.
And lieu of it.
I
Well,
know.
it was a kind of a lesson. No, it was a good new car.
Was it a Ford?
Aye.
Uh-huh,
And that car
uh-huh.
was at headquarters
Yes.
until it was arrested,
See,
seized on 18th of, I think it was 18th of January.
Where was the seat?
It was somewhere in Tyrone. No, it was the day that Joe Donnelly was arrested.
Josh Alden.
Sean Daly and Coolin. Coolin area.
Oh, I see, they were using it and then at Culloden they were arrested in the
No,
car.
they were going to
Battalion inspection.
battalion inspection. And they were arrested. That car was in our area on Tubland.
That was called a machine car.
The divisional car, I know.
Was the division?
Did you ever drive it, John?
I did.
Oh, you would because you were one of the drivers.
Drove in Glenelg during the camp period.
Was that a T model Ford?
My godfather, my father used to Parish Priest of Crannan up to the
Lagan.
up to the camp one
Yes.
to the men, you see,
Yes.
James Mass and confessions from the front of that.
Yes, I know.
Went down, went to me in the following morning, the whole crowd was in the camp.
Very good.
Yeah, that was the only time I drove it down and up,
I know.
and I could hardly get over a broken bridge that was a couple of planks across, afraid of going down.
Yeah, tricky business.
Wasn't look too good, you know.
I know,
Well, that car was now a parish area, all during that period up till 18th of January 22.
Yes.
Maybe others should tell me about the stack of turf.
What's the stack of turf? Was it hidden in the stack of turf?
One was taken first.
Aye.
The one was taken first. These people, in fact, the nephew of the fellas here today, they're on the football match. And a son of Joe Donnelly's, a son of Mickey Neely's.
Aye.
They took the car up the mountain
Yes.
and they were yelling thirsty, and they built a car in the stack of turf.
A good place to hide it. Yes.
They built a stack of turf around it
I know.
and was there until October or whatever time, like, that was
I
the
know.
summer of,
21.
no, it'd be the summer of 20.
Oh, that was yes, I see. Yes, yes, yes.
And then we were using it the winter of
21.
20 and
20,
spring and
21.
and 21, and was lifted on the, it was lifted on the 18th of January, I think it was. Was it 18th of January at that?
About that time, it was in the January. I think.
22.
22. They wanted to, because I got a ride in that car that I will never forget.
Yes.
There was a car in Swatra. Again, I forget the name.
Uh-huh.
And for being used for illegal purposes, it was commandeered by the police, or the parts engine was taken out of it, the carburetor was taken out of it, and
So I know.
it was left at it.
It was immobilized.
It was immobilized by the police. And it was on one side of the streets in Swatra, the garage, and the barracks was on the other side.
Yes.
And it was the same maker of a car as ours.
I know, yes.
I say ours.
I know, Tommy, yes.
And the fella that owned the car said to us, there are good tyres on my car, and I can't use it. You might as well have the tyres.
Yes.
And 4 of us went one night to take the tyres of the car.
Yes.
And we took the tyres off the car, because our own tyres were bad.
I know.
We took the tyres off the car and got away nice and quietly. You know, it was about 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock at night.
Yes.
And I was sitting on the back seat of the car, watching out for any, there were very few cars on the road at
Oh,
that
I
time.
know, yes.
Watching out for any lights or anything following us.
I know.
And we were coming up the Upperland Road
Yes.
into Mahara.
Yes.
And all of a sudden I saw my shadow on the driver's back.
I know. That meant the lights behind you.
Lights being, and I turned around and the lights were just,
Dimmed.
no, they were just on our number plate,
I know.
right in beside us.
Yes.
And it was Johnny Neely was driving,
Yes.
Johnny Kelly. And so I pulled on Johnny, it might be a doctor come out of a side road. You know, we didn't
I
know.
know,
the
I know,
car
I
was
know, I
well.
know. No.
Johnny went to pull on, and the car come up along a running board, crowding us into the ditch. Like, and there don't be much time for any hesitation on that. And Johnny just pulled down the 2 throttles
I know.
on the
car.
like
I
that.
remember, yeah.
And pulling down the 2 throttles, Duffy, he burst the bulbs, the headlamps.
Directly.
Directly, burst the bulbs in the headlamps, and away we went in the dark,
God save.
and the car after us.
I know.
And mind you, we weren't going easy,
No, I'm sure not.
coming out Upperland at that, you know,
I know what angels say.
the danger sea. And it was luck saved us. You know that turn on Mahara,
The very bad one.
the very bad one around
Yes.
Walsh's?
I know.
Well, see, in the dark, when we turned that corner, we were past the other corner, we intended to turn out to Tobermore.
I know.
That was the only way because the bridge was down in Glen.
I say yes, I know.
Do you know?
I know.
And we were past the corner
Yes.
before we knew it was the corner.
Yes.
You know, in the dark.
You went up the street.
Went on up the street and on we went. And the first thing that happened was there was a wall across the road at the Brooklyn Bridge at Glen.
Yes.
And we went over the wall and we burst our 2 front tires, our 2 front wheels.
The 2 good ones you've just got.
No, we still had them in the back of the car.
Oh, I see. Well,
Well, whoever was after us, see, when we turned the corner at Walsh's, see the 2 corners, do you know them, John? They're nearly direct.
yeah.
They must have turned out the Tobermore Road.
Uh-huh.
Do you get what I mean? No one other road was blocked.
Yeah.
And we lost them, only for that we were had.
Please.
There's police, sure. Or worse than police, a lot worse than police beaming.
I know, well, you'd wonder they didn't start firing at you.
Well, they didn't. And I went over. There's a Scotch mill there, and I went over to the Scotch mill. We were all, there were only 4 of us, we were armed. There was Tommy Neely, Johnny Neely, a fellow Peter Clerkin, and myself. And we took whatever arms we had, we were all armed, and then we stayed on the safe side of the bridge to see if we were being followed.
I know.
And there were nothing coming, and we went back. They were all pretty good mechanics. We got 2 tires and 2 tubes out of the back, and we put them on the front wheels. And I went over to Mackay's, or McKay's as they call them in the States.
Yeah.
I went over to Mackay's and asked was there any road that we could get out on the Lisnamuck Road
Yes. At that point.
at that point.
Yes.
With Crossing Bridge. So they sent us up a road that went up into the mountains,
Yes.
and we had to cross about 4 acres of heather
Sure of that.
up on the, like we went up on Isle Lonan,
Aye.
but we got out anyhow and we got out on the Lisnamuck Road.
And still no lights.
Still no lights. Well, there was certainly a clear.
Aye, yes.
And I remember we got another puncture between Tobermore and Leopardstown on a back lane, an old back lane that we would always travel.
Uh-huh.
That would take you out on the Tobermore Road near
Lisnamuck, no.
near Leopardstown.
I say yes.
Come in up
Black Hill.
and behind Black Hill.
Yes.
And you'd cross, you could come up the Carnamony
Yes.
and across there by McKenna's at the river and hit this road then like an out of by road. Up here, the road went across here to Black Hill.
Yeah.
Well, this out road went on up and out and hit the Tobermore Road up near the rectory there.
Yes.
The rectory. And I remember that morning, we were putting on another, patching another, or putting on another tire, and I fell on my face on the road, never moved. Slept. Fell asleep.
That's great.
Fell asleep. Standing.
Aye.
Johnny Neely and Tommy from down the time. Anyway, and poor Peter Clayton, that was with us that night, went home, got his breakfast, changed his clothes, and went out. The father was mowing corn, and they went out and into the field. The father was lying dead over the side,
Dear.
had dropped dead.
That of.
Wasn't it tough enough?
Oh. Well, you got 3 punctures, as it turned out.
Aye, we got another puncture, I think it was in the back wheel.
But you didn't, when you hit the barrier and went over, did you not go and do any harm to the undercarriage? Or the pretty
We didn't
high?
go over it, we had it,
I see.
had it with the front wheels and went up on it.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Aye.
And we didn't wait long, mind you, till we got out.
No
But
fear.
at that time, a bit of an undercarriage been gone or anything didn't mean much.
No, I suppose it wouldn't. Well, now that was on the, well, what did you, you were no difficulty getting these tires off in the street of Swathra?
Oh, there's no
On
garage?
the garage, yeah?
No.
No.
Oh, no, we didn't have anywhere.
Well, now that's
The boys that was on the job.
it's nearly as famous in its own little way as Johnson's motor car, this motor car.
Well, that car done a lot of work.
I did, I'm sure. Where would you get petrol that time? You could commandeer it, but it wasn't every place you could trust to give it even.
Well, in our parish, you could get petrol.
But there weren't many petrol pumps.
No,
But
but
there
you
was
could,
petrol cans you had that
there
time.
was petrol cans, and you could always get petrol.
Aye.
Because here's another thing that I'm going to mention. All the explosives
Yes.
that was used in the 2nd Northern Division
Yes.
was made in that parish.
Oh, I know, yes.
The cheddar
Aye.
and it was
War flour.
wire flour and 1 part sulphur and it was a 3 parts paraffin.
Paraffin was in sodium chloride, was it?
It was sodium chloride
Ah.
was the real thing.
I know.
Well, that stuff, there was a town, there was a shop in Draperstown,
Yes.
a grocer's shop.
Aye.
At one time, had done big business, Gormley's.
Aye.
And there was a fella, oh, what do they call him, he's still there. He was in charge, he was one of our company. And the stuff would come in there
Aye. And quantity.
in quantity as flour. You know?
I know.
And I would collect it there or take it
Well, it would probably would be coming from, this is actually, I should think, post-truce. It might have been coming from Dublin via that way. Not so much of it came pre-truce, I think, Tom.
No, there wasn't much of it, because we were really not in the fight
No, I have to tell you, until post-truce.
until after the truce.
That was mostly the way in any part of the Northern Division. Well, there was some, I didn't know they manufactured it. They could manufacture it even locally. I thought it was always imported as they made stuff.
Oh no, we dried it, and this is the thing. It was in our house that stuff was all mixed.
Yes,
And God rest my mother. Many a night she sat up. We would dry it in the kitchen
I know,
after it was mixed with the oil. It had to get drying,
I know,
a kind of naturally,
I know.
you know. And it wouldn't
Couldn't
do-
be forced.
Well, it couldn't. You couldn't have any heat on it.
I know. Well, this is December 1922. When we come to that, we'll come to it. Well, now, this was now the truce, and the car was there. Well, then it was used up at the camp, of course. Can you
It was
remember?
used.
Have you any reminiscences yourself of the Gould camp?
Sure.
Well, tell me yours. Who was there? Were you there? Which period? Were you there once or twice?
Well, see, when the camp was formed first,
Yes.
I was there.
Uh-huh.
In fact, it was our horse that drew the coal over to it
Yes.
for the first.
Well, who owned the shooting lodge in Sperry?
I can't. That fella that owned the shooting lodge, and he was hired up above our house, and for the life of me now.
That owned it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. There was a local owned it then too.
That's a local owned
Well, what state of repair was it?
it. Good repair.
Uh-huh.
Did you ever hear the story about it? But
No,
the
I-
ghost?
Oh, well, no, I didn't think you're the first that's brought a ghost on the scene. Let's hear that one.
Well, that lodge was there for generation or more.
Well, it
It never
was.
was used.
Yes. Yes, that's what I was coming to. Why would it be a good building left empty? Well,
It belonged to some English lady
yes.
at one time.
Right.
I don't know whether you got that from. I'm
No,
not too
I knew it
sure.
was some of the gentry owned it. It was
Aye,
a shooting
aye.
lodge.
And she had a row with the parish priest.
Well, this is interesting.
No, it's not, because nearly everybody does.
Oh, well said, well said, Tom. That's a beautiful rejoinder. Beautifully said.
But this woman would appear.
Mm-hmm.
She'd come down the stairs.
Keep quiet, doggy, now. Here,
See.
it's the devil.
So the first morning, the first day that I was there, now it was our duty to supply the food.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The
I
rations.
know, yeah.
And it was out of that shop that I mentioned a little while ago that we bought most of the stuff.
Gormley's.
Gormley's. And we took over half a ton of coal and provisions that would do, you know, bacon,
I know.
everything else, see. And I was there the first day the place was being swept out.
Yes.
The men was to come the following, that was Saturday.
Yes.
The men was to come the following Sunday
Yes.
to it, whatever. Was it 40 would be in it or something like that? Whatever. Well, Joan doesn't want his voice on the local captain was there and two men,
Yes. Tracy.
Tracy.
I know.
And he says, there were two lads been left, yard,
Yes.
on the food.
On the provisions.
On the-
Yes, I
on
know.
everything that was there.
Uh-huh.
And he says, if you hear any noise out of that room,
Uh-huh.
don't trouble about it.
Uh-huh.
It's nothing. See,
Yeah.
2 weeks, wasn't it 2 weeks they'll be there?
1 week. Bring your chair even nearer. So come on, please.
I don't want to get in too much.
No.
You'll not.
I done one twice.
Well, I went back on 2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks. Be someone, because in the meantime, the camp personnel had been changed from the first week. The man in charge of the camp, at the time I went back, it might have been 2 weeks, it might have been 3 weeks, was Connolly. Remember Connolly?
He was there 5 or 6.
Eh?
He was there 5 or 6.
Yeah, but see, he wasn't there at the beginning.
No.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
He wasn't there at the beginning, and I don't know whether it was the second or third week he came back. But when I went back to the camp, this room was a canteen,
Yes.
and I asked the fellas about it,
Yes.
and they had orders from Connolly to
Open the
open the room and clear it out, and the
conveyor.
canteen where you could buy paper or stamps or
That kind of canteen. Yeah.
cigarettes or, you know.
A dry canteen.
A dry canteen. And I asked the 2 lads that cleaned it out, what did they find in it? And one of them told me the only thing he found in it was a statue of the Blessed Virgin.
Yes.
And the story goes, I never saw her,
No.
but the story goes that every night that woman came down the stairs.
Yes.
And I was making inquiries since about it, and I think that it's occupied now.
It is. Well occupied. Nice farmstead now, near, well and truly occupied. I think it's somebody called McCullough lives in it now.
And there was nobody living in for long enough.
I see, yes.
Now, I'm trying to think, would it be McGarvey?
Aye. I heard that name right now.
Would it be McGarvey that owned it? I'm sure Joe might know, because he was hired, the fellow that owned it was hired in McIlerney's,
Yes.
and it was a nice building,
Oh, it's a fine looking building, yes.
plenty of space in it and everything.
I know.
And that is the story. I never saw the woman, but I know there was a fella shot on the mountain. Accidentally.
Aye.
And he was holding the magazine as a gun in his hand and shot him. See, they took the magazine of the gun, but they didn't know there was
One left one in the breech.
there was in the breech. And he had the gun in his hand.
Aye.
He had the magazine in his hand, and another fella caught the gun from him and pulled the trigger.
I see.
You know, thought it was
I know.
empty, and he was shot dead. And his father was a postman or had a post office in
Strabane.
Strabane.
McNally.
Uh,
Where was he buried?
the father came from, I don't know.
Oh, I see. He wasn't buried in Cranach.
Oh no.
Very
The
good.
father came from.
There was a story that he was buried in Cranach and that he was buried in an old pre-truce volunteer uniform belonging to a man called Cassidy that lived around Mahara. But you weren't there at the time anyway.
I was there
were you?
the time he was shot,
Shot.
and I was there when the father came.
And you saw the remains go out.
Well, I don't remember now. I can't say exactly because it was all done at night.
I know it would have to be.
At night,
Yes.
because it was an evening. Because I was on guard. I was in the camp that week,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on guard at the back of the camp
Yes.
that night.
Uh-huh.
And I don't remember remember the father's name or anything else.
Be more explicit about this. You said that he was holding the magazine of a Parabellum, presumably. Maybe
Yeah,
in a Parabellum. And he had
It was one of the guns.
He had the Parabellum.
Yeah.
Did the other fella try to take it from or were they only admiring it or looking
The
at
other
it?
fella, see, he took the magazine out and he had the magazine in his hand.
Great, and that looked like
He
a
had
safe
gun.
gun.
And the other fella reached over and called. You know, by that time you'd be looking at guns.
Ah, well, I mean, they were just admiring the weapon.
Aye. And he reached over and took a gun from him.
Well, they must have handed to him to get the butt. He wasn't pulling the trigger from the
He
nozzle.
just, no, but he just, you know, the way you do it.
Well, that's it's a material anyway, but
Aye,
the
right.
ghost, what was any other story about the ghost? You
I
never
never-
saw this?
I never saw a ghost.
I suppose you took a departure when they went anyway.
But
Well,
no,
travel in the past, please.
no, it was funny. The story was she should always go down to the gate
Yes?
at night. That was the story at that time. Of course, there were nobody. Well, there was a crowd that was in there, and there was none on that.
Credulous. They weren't
No.
believing things of that nature.
No, but there was some reason for the room being closed.
Well, you'd wonder if she was doing her parades at night that a sentry wouldn't even halt her. There was never any mention. No, you've often heard of that.
That happened in Marafelton during the war.
What was that one?
Then the fire at a man that came out of a house whistling.
During the past war?
Away in the time of the curfew in the north. No, not during the war. During our war.
There was a postman who didn't halt and he was shot dead by the military in Marifeld called McSwiggan.
I know, but this is another story. A house that was been demolished and this man would come walking out of it. The police fired at him. And he walked on.
I didn't hear that one.
Well, it happened in Marifeld.
Uh-huh. But I often heard of where these IRA were in post-truce camps. They always seemed to have a ghost. That's true. Around Castle Shane, there in Monaghan, where Charlie McLean had people, and
Well, you only got a house.
That's true.
Nobody else
nobody was else in, which
wanted-
looked like a haunted one.
Nobody else wanted to occupy.
That's true. Well, at any rate, you never heard any
I never saw-
of a spectre being seen. It would appear as if, as I said just now, that if the ghost had been laid, you properly laid it too. There.
No,
Forever.
I believe in ghosts.
I do too, and I fear them, and therefore I don't want anything to do with them.
I don't fear them. That's
I
funny.
do.
I don't fear
I'm
them.
scared of them.
I believe in ghosts, and I've reason to,
For why?
because one approached me.
This is interesting now. Leave
Well,
the
I'm
place
not going
just
to
out
put
of
it- I'm not going to put it on record. No.
Well, I'll put it off record. The camp personnel was there at the time, and Dan Breen visited that camp. Were you there during that occasion?
And
Sorry, John.
Lynch was with him, I think, or was it Sean Tracy?
Well, I don't know.
Because I remember Dan Breen at that camp, and there were three of them. And Dan Breen walked up to a big ash tree, and he put the penknife on the tree that way, see, and you know the side of a hole you scoop,
Yes,
and you know the point of
a knife, huh?
and he walked back, I think it was 10 yards, and he put a bullet in the hole.
Yes.
And all the rest of them fired and none of them hit the tree. Remember that? Now, when he was on the air there last night,
Aye, well,
Dan was on television last
I
night.
know. Well, we were talking last night that time. Well, was he using a revolver at that?
It was a revolver. But it was only the three of them. Now, and I can't remember whether it was Lynch or Tracy.
I see.
It was three strangers.
I know.
Do you get what I mean?
How long would he have stayed at the camp?
I think that he was only there like today and overnight and part of the next day.
I was there a week when I was in the town, and he was in Mahara the week previous.
Aye, well he was in Mahara and he was
Or after.
he was at Draperstown.
Well, I was asking John here last night, what about the prisoners that were there?
Well, there were two of the prisoners from Belfast,
Yes,
and the other prisoner was from, what they call it, Carrickmore.
yes, well,
What was his name? Was it Gormley?
I don't know, maybe it's the same one that I have.
He was the creamery manager in
Carrickmore.
Carrickmore.
And what was he? Was it for insubordination or suspected informant?
Well, no, it was for refusing to obey order.
Yes.
I think, and it was me arrested him.
Well, where did you arrest him?
Well, I'll tell you the story.
Yes.
That was the hungriest days ever I spent in my life, and I've remembered it. Joe Donnelly and me done everything in the parish
Yes,
that had to be done. Do you get what I mean?
I know, yes.
Joe Donnelly was to meet me at 4 o'clock at Straw Chapel
Yes,
with a car.
yes. The same car, presumably.
Same car.
Aye.
I got up, you wouldn't be long in bed that time, I got up at 3 o'clock or 3:30, and a common occurrence then, you pull out the coals, see,
I know,
and put the tongs across them,
I know,
and put a tin on it to make it
I know,
dark
yes. On the grease shuck.
on the greaser.
Aye.
I pulled out the coals, and I put the tin on, and I lay in the back stone, and of course I was sleeping. I fell asleep. And
Yes.
I woke up, you know, it was only for a second or two, I fell
Yeah.
asleep. I woke up and I looked down the tin and it was boiling.
Yes.
And I reached down that way,
Did you have sleep?
and my half sleep and caught with my finger and thumb. And of course it burned me to the
Very bone.
very bone, and I pulled my hand up and I spilled it. You know,
I know.
food from. And there was no time to make any more because you couldn't be sitting around with that car, you know.
I know.
So I out and down
Aye.
and headed for Carrickmore.
Yes.
That's where we were going. It's a wee small thing. But we went and we said to the creamery, we had everything a kind of laid out that would arrive at the creamery when the work was finished.
I know.
Do you know?
I know.
When everybody was gone from it.
I know.
You know,
Yes.
it would be, I suppose it would be about 11 or half 11 that would arrive at the creamery.
Yes.
You know. We arrived at the creamery and we searched the creamery and we couldn't find anybody. Nobody had to be seen or heard or nothing. And we went to an office door, and the office door was locked. And I said it was funny that the office door was locked and the rest of the creamery was open.
I know, yes.
See?
Uh-huh.
And so I put a shot through the keyhole.
Ah.
And I put the shot through the keyhole. Of course the lock was gone.
Aye.
I got that Gordon lady's name, I can't.
Well, I can't help you on that, well.
Well, I'll get his name, it'll come in the back of my head afterwards. He told me that just about 5 seconds before I fired through the keyhole, he'd looked through to see if he'd know who was outside.
Ghost service.
Well, wasn't it lucky?
It was indeed.
So we took your man with us, and then when we had the prisoner, of course, we couldn't call anyone.
No.
And we arrived. Now, whether we had punctures or whether we hadn't, I don't know. But we arrived at the camp at 5 o'clock
In the evening.
in the evening.
That was a 12-hour stint you were on.
And it was a good long day.
Yes,
Went up across Davin, across that way, across the, like we took by road
I know.
all the time. We didn't have any main roads. And Joe Donnelly, you knew Joe, type Joe. Joe, there was an order there for the car to be, and I think it was for that man that you mentioned a few minutes ago, to go for him over to the other side of Glenelly. No, it wasn't Conway, it was Corn.
For Curran.
And Joe, of course, swung the car around at Glenelly and we left our prisoner in, and Joe headed for
Where he had to be.
where he had to go. And he was a very quiet type of fella. Joe went into this old farmer and he said, "Would you have anything to eat?" We hadn't
Broken bread.
broken bread the whole day. "Would you have anything to eat?" "I'll get you something, Lord boy," says. And he come out with the heel of an old hard loaf and a big tin of very, very sour butter.
Yes, yes.
Well, I went into the camp and I consumed about 2 or 3 tins of fish and salmon and everything and all the tea. I was perished with hunger. And I always remember. And Grugan was a man's name. Grugan was his name.
Was he the creamy man?
Aye, Grugan.
Well, now he's a different Grugan to the other.
Yeah.
The other was not a
Grugan.
creamy man.
And Grugan was there until I think they would have kept him there since.
I see. He was a volunteer and didn't appear for parades, I suppose.
No, he was a captain.
Yes,
And he refused to carry out some.
order.
Oh, of course, there was a lot of that kind of stuff, you know. There was a lot of that kind of stuff went on, was petty ill feeling between somebody else and somebody else.
I know,
He's still up there in Carrickmore.
I see. Well, there's Grugan. Grugan is a name up there for, there was Grugans from Carrickmore Race in 1916 too. That reminds me of another Grugan that I was asking John about. He thought he was from near Stewartstown. He used to work in a bar as a barman in Marfell, James Grugan.
A big strong fella.
Aye, well, did you ever hear of him afterwards?
No.
I never heard him afterwards.
No.
Well, that's only in passing. Well, now, that was the kidnapping of Grugan.
Grugan.
Well, then there was also around South Derry, there was a couple lifted for blabbing in a small way called Moran and another called Bradley.
At Glencullen.
Oh, no, these were lifted at a place called the Loop, County Derry.
Well, see, the look wasn't in our district.
But they were brought to Sperrin Camp. And they always said that they were told to dig their graves or something. Maybe they were digging holes, I don't know.
Poor Grugan was in the kitchen, feeding sport and washing dishes and.
Doing KP, as they say in America.
Well,
You were going to say something about that, digging the holes.
Look at that scene for the.
That for latrines, aye. I see. So they misunderstood it and thought they were digging their graves. I see, well,
there was 2 other fellas from Belfast.
and I wonder, were they ex-specials or ex-volunteers, or volunteers that didn't do?
No, they had no connection, I think they were. I remember one of them, he was a big strong fella. I think he worked in a shipyard or something.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't have known even with a grapevine what were they were
No.
in for.
No, I don't know what they were there for. What they were, one of them a small little fella, and the other was because I remember the night that they went back to Belfast.
They were released, like.
Aye.
But there was a couple of brothers called Quinn from Donamore side that escaped from your
Aye,
custody.
aye.
Where did they escape from? Was it the Mahara camp or
No,
your
it
camp?
wasn't the camp they were in at all. They were
Wasn't
now-
the camp?
No, they were in our parish.
Well,
And the thing was nearly over at that time.
yes,
And that one of them should have been shot.
yes. He was a spy, I
I was
suppose.
a spy. And the brother was a half-wit,
Yes,
you know.
yes,
He didn't even know how to eat food or,
no. An imbecile.
well, I don't know what you'd call him here on the TV programs there.
Mentally deficient. And more of that.
He wasn't mentally deficient in a sense because he went with the messages for the brother
Right, to the police.
to the barracks
Aye.
and to the post office. I think the brother was a postman.
Yes,
I'm not sure, I can't be sure. But they were moved around in our parish
yes,
and they escaped one night.
yeah.
Well now, at the time, I was glad to see them escaping
Yes, I see.
because I would hate to have the death of the silly
Oh,
lad.
I know, yes, and you'd have to shoot the both.
And the both would and
for one.
the other fella should have been shot.
I
There's
see.
no doubt about it.
I know,
But it was from our parish, them fellas escaped.
aye. Well, where did they go to eventually?
They went home and they come back dressed in policeman's clothes on a lorry and tried to locate where they were kept.
Is that right? Aye.
And the only place that they... Do you remember John Jimenez? Well, that was the only length that they got back. Because after that, any time I moved them when they couldn't see where they were going.
Oh, naturally, aye.
Do you know? And that was all the length that they could trace them
Where they came in.
where they came in.
Uh-huh.
And John said, my God, I said, I never, what even a fellow like that, and you know home for, so well, you would disgrace your job, you know, he was, well, a number of that's all.
I know.
But they were, see, the Bible's in them, they would have come back.
Well, that was the only prisoners that were there. They all agreed on that the other two escaped. I thought they escaped from a camp. They escaped
No,
from a
they
house.
escaped from a house.
Uh-huh.
And
Well, somebody must have been neglectful of duty to let
the
them-
two fellas that was on duty that night, Joe Kane and Andy Conway.
Yeah.
They were the two fellas that were on duty that
Was
night.
he an ex-soldier, Joe Kane?
Joe Kane was an ex-soldier
I see.
and a good man.
Uh-huh.
But it appears that they did not adopt for a minute.
Yes. No, it weren't so foolish after all.
And the others see, well, the ways.
Wow. Aye.
And we didn't look for them.
No.
Because at that time now, that would be,
22, I suppose.
it was well on in 22.
Yes, it's
It
just
was
near
just
the end of
It
things.
was just at the time
Uh-huh.
I had another spy in the parish,
Yes.
and his son is still a spy in it.
There you are now.
Mm.
You didn't incarcerate him, did you?
I went to him and told him, and because he went to the barracks and reported me.
Is that right?
Mm. He only died there about 2 years ago, and he was a spy.
Well, no names, no
Danny.
details since they're still alive.
The son is still alive,
I
and
know
the son
that.
is still acting the same as he
Oh, I
is.
see, yes, like father, like son.
Aye, and Dan Breen was on there last night and he said, the RIC, the way they controlled their area, they had a barracks, and in that area they had about 6 touts or spies.
Yes.
And he said, I'm an old man, he said, I'm 70 years of age, 71 now. He said, I may be going to be maker maybe tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
But he said, I never had nor never will have any thoughts about the men that I murdered
Or killed.
or killed. He says, because he says, they deserve to be killed.
Been spies.
Aye.
Aye, well,
And he
it's
said,
a wonder then, Tommy, that you would even content yourself with a modest warning to a man that you knew. Why not lift him and incarcerate him? It's more threatening than actually saying to the man.
well,
It's unfair to his son who now is carrying on the tradition. Because even he had been captain for a while, at least would have shown that you meant business.
well, it was on. And his wife's name was Clark,
Yes. Her maiden name.
her maiden name,
Yes.
from around Gortin.
Mm-hmm.
And her brother was one of the best men around there.
Oh, I see. Yes, aye.
And he was in jail at that time.
I see. Yes. Uh-huh.
And it was for her. And the man had no means of existence,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
very little. And he had a crowd of small children.
I see.
About, there'd be 6 or 7 of them.
Oh,
And
I
they were
see.
just existing.
Oh, I know. Aye.
And for her sake,
Well, it's probably not misplaced in a sense at the
for
time.
her sake,
Yes.
I didn't think it would do any good,
No.
because there were others. There were plenty of others, and still lives in the parish.
Usually in an area that's predominantly Hibernian, you would have got that. But since this is things that we're not very clear on it, and we're not going to make it any more clear either. You just say, generally speaking, there were spies in the area, and there may still be.
There is still.
But since we weren't, there was one spy really executed. He was a Jewish spy. Scotland Yard sent him over, and he was executed up at Gortin. But he was from Scotland Yard, and it was about that period. And he had been traced from Dungannon, and he was notably, he was a G-man or a detective anyway. Ivor Sigorsky, they called him, and he was executed, and on his body was put the usual "Spies beware." That was the only.
There was one thing that I would be very squirmish about, and that is getting the real facts on a man before.
You must have very solid facts
Yeah.
before you can be executed.
Well, Pat Rogers admitted to me that he visited the barracks on occasions that I didn't even know he visited them.
I know, yes.
You know what I mean?
Aye.
I knew where he made contact several times.
It was a very, you see, on the face of it, it's very stupid. Generally, a type now wouldn't go so directly as to a barrack. I'm not denying that he would have done it, but on the ordinary thing, both from the police standpoint and the informer standpoint, there was always a go-between in some way or other without him actually going to a barrack.
Well, what he went to the barracks for, he had a great excuse. He was sending parcels to the wife's brother who was in jail.
Again, this doesn't ring very true. Why the hell would he go to a police barrack to post a
Yeah, but
parcel in a Chinese?
that was the way that he brought it out. But
No.
the man had to live on there. The man had to,
He had to augment his income because he didn't have any.
he had nothing.
But listen, driver, you cannot bring me any better evidence than the fact that he was sending parcels via the police to him.
Aye, but that was his excuse.
It doesn't ring true. You know?
No,
If
it doesn't.
If I was sitting in judgment, I would say go home, son. So would you two. Since you've
I
just
know,
said
but-
that you would have to be very careful before you would punish anything.
Aye, but-
Well, in that case, it's dismissed without prejudice.
Our case wasn't dismissed against him as far as we were concerned. We had plenty of evidence.
Well, that's
But we let it go.
post
We
factum.
weren't going to do anything because among our own men,
There was people that maybe squealed.
we had the last meeting of the 2nd Northern Division
Yes.
was in Banton School
Yes.
on the 16th of March, 1922.
Right. Who presided at it?
Charlie Daly.
Right.
And Charlie read out the letter that he had received from headquarters offering him a job.
Go on. Right.
And he said that he joined the fight. I can't just give you the exact words. He joined the fight for Ireland's freedom.
Yes.
And while a part of Ireland still remained unfree, he still stayed in the fight.
Which GHQ was that from?
It was from Beggar's Bush.
Right. I can believe that. Go on.
You can believe it or not believe it, whatever you
And
like.
it wasn't a job. He was asking you, man, which side you would take.
He was offered the job, too.
Offered the job of what?
Now, I can't give you the...
On the 16th of March 1922, he read out for you this, and
The letter that he received.
asking you as captain of the Dubberstone Company.
No, he didn't, it was a general meeting.
Divisional staff.
Right.
It was divisional staff. I was the
The
man.
brigades.
It was the brigades and everything else. I was the man, see, that procured the school for him.
Right.
I was the one in charge of the district. And everybody there,
Uh-huh.
of the brigade staff
Yes.
and the battalion staff, shook hands with him and said they were behind him.
That's right.
And they're not one of them today,
Ah.
with the exception of Patrick Quigley that's in Chicago and myself.
Uh-huh.
But we're in a Free State Army ready to shoot him.
Tommy, but listen, let me explain to this. That was after two conventions. There were two conventions in March. One of them was Beggar's Bush Convention,
Yeah.
and the other was four corps, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two executives.
Yeah.
One was proclaimed by the provisional government.
Yeah.
Charlie represented the splinter movement.
Yeah.
What he read out for you was asking, would you be loyal to that particular, to executive? Leaving his job out of it now, on the 16th of March. See if I have a copy of that.
Because he went away, he went across in Donegal and Larkin went with him.
Soon after the 16th of May.
That night,
Yes.
because the next night was attacked on Mahara Barracks
Yes. And Pomeroy.
and Pomeroy.
Yes.
And I saw it myself at that time. And of course, it's a long time ago. I began to smell a rat, even at that time. The arms that we were to have for Mahara Barracks,
Yes. You already had them.
no, they were crossing the border that day.
Did you
Somewhere-
put them at the county
Wait.
march?
No, they were crossing the border that day somewhere along the Tyrone-Derry border. We were to get them at Dungiven,
Yes.
but the arms were seized by the RUC.
There was
Well,
nothing.
not the RUC, but British military or whatever they were.
When?
That morning, the morning of the barracks,
You know I'm stolen.
were very little.
Well, we'll see. With what arms then did you go to attack Mahara Barracks?
I wasn't attacking Mahara
We
Barracks.
were at the bridge at
I was
Mayo.
at Mayola Bridge.
With what arms then did they?
They had two Thompson guns.
That looked like as if they'd come from Beggar's Bush or
No,
somewhere.
they had two Thompson guns
Well,
and no ammunition on them.
well, all right. Well, but they're still
They had
around.
in fact,
Yes, that's true. Go on.
yeah. They had and no ammunition on them.
Yeah.
We had one.
Can you remember the name of the one who had a Thompson gun?
I think it was Conway was one of them, but who was the other? Wasn't it Haggy?
Didn't I tell you they took the bag? It wasn't hard to take.
No, because I'll tell you why it wasn't hard to take.
It's given away.
Now, wait a minute. I'll tell you, this is new information to you.
That's right.
They had a loyal subject in the barracks. Our lads.
I know, yes.
And we got